Good evening and welcome to another Omega Insight. Tonight's topic is instilling beauty. Now, Torkom was a gentleman who lived up in Sedona. He passed away a few years back. He was a teacher of the ageless wisdom teachings, teachings that have been passed on throughout the ages, quite simply said. And one of the concepts is to instill beauty. And Torkom was a proponent of instilling beauty in your thoughts, words, and deeds. That's what he spoke about. So what does it mean to instill beauty? Well, those of you who know I'm a Harry Potter fan, I could just take my wand and voila, you're beautiful, and that's that. Of course, it's not that simple. When it comes to instilling beauty, the concept of instill, to instill, if we look at the definition of that, it's to gradually but firmly establish an idea or an attitude, preferably one of one's desire, into a person's mind. So if I'm instilling beauty in my mind, I'm instilling it in my mind. And then, of course, beauty has many different definitions. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. What does beauty actually mean? Well, it's a combination of qualities like the shape or the color or the form that is pleasing to the aesthetic senses. The smell of flowers or fragrances can be quite beautiful. Obviously we associate a lot with our eyes. We see a beautiful sunset, a beautiful kind act. We're moved sometimes when we see acts of kindness and service across our community within individuals. Beauty can also be a smell. Like you could, anybody who's ever driven by a bakery, you know that incredible smell. Or if you're walking through the airport and the Cinnabons, makes your mouth water. That's beautiful. So what does it mean to instill beauty? Well, if we look at the idea of instilling beauty, imbuing my mind with thoughts of beauty in my thoughts, my words, and my actions, that means that I am actually expressing beauty. So I can be sitting quite calmly and peacefully, perhaps even meditating, and thinking, creating beautiful thoughts in my mind. It could be thinking of my family, my children, my husband, my friends. It could be thinking about memories of the past or projecting into the future things that I desire and fill them with beauty so that my thoughts have beauty in them. It's quite similar to the idea of expressing gratitude. If I think grateful, I will be grateful. So if we plug into the equation beauty, if I'm thinking beauty, I will be beauty. It means I will exemplify beauty, that I am pleasing to those around me. Not just physical beauty, but the beauty of, if you've ever been around somebody who's quite inspiring or moving when they speak, it's not their physical beauty that draws us, it's their presence that draws us. It's like a magnet. I know I've spoken about being a magnetic personality. Beauty is part of that. It's to remove, it might be even simpler to talk about what it's not, removing the judgment from my thinking, removing criticism, removing disdain or upset or any negative word, thought, or action. For example, driving in our car with the wonderful other drivers who drive on the street. We are sitting there driving and let's say somebody cuts us off. The thought would be, well, if I had beauty in my thinking and my actions, I would slow myself down and be grateful and think of the beautiful opportunity I have to express love. Or I have an opportunity to not be in a hurry. It really is a trick of the mind. Once we start, remember, it's the gradually but firmly establishing. Eventually, it'll get to a place where I don't have to work on it so hard. It's my natural inclination to think beautiful things. We used to use the illustration that sometimes, when we think about death and my natural, I'm so sorry, I feel your pain. But we have to remember on the flip side, somebody's set free. maybe the person was suffering and now they're not suffering anymore. Or the person who was the caregiver, they're free now and they don't have to take care of that individual anymore. It's just looking at it from a different perspective and looking for the beauty. That's really what it comes down to. Looking for the beauty with my eyes, with my ears, with my words, and with my actions. How can I find beauty? Remember, it goes along the same lines of when I'm thinking grateful, I become grateful. So when I'm thinking beauty, I become beauty. Here's the caution. We don't want to create a narcissistic society. It's not about, again, the physical beauty. Not to put so much time in the way that I look physically, my face, and losing the weight, and working out, and having the right appearance. And, you know, I was just talking today about everybody's attached to their phone, and everybody's got a channel or a TikTok or a reel that they're doing, and it's all about, you know, the filters and the correction. That's surface. I'm really speaking about inner beauty, the ability to be calm in difficult situations, the ability to help others be calm in difficult situations. That's beautiful. The ability to see beauty even in travesty. I remember there was a parable, I'm going to botch it up and I don't remember exactly, but Jesus is walking along with his apostles, and there's a dead dog, like the bones or something is there, and one of the apostles made a comment, "Oh, that's so disgusting," and Jesus looked over and said, "Oh, but his teeth are as beautiful as pearls." So it's the idea to find beauty in all the situations. If we are able to do this, finding the beauty in all situations, then nothing should offend us. We should never be disgusted. We should never feel the idea to be, ugh, get away. We should never have that feeling. We should be able to see that beauty. It's kind of like those individuals who work with burn victims. You know, if you've ever seen a burn victim, I mean severely burned victim, it's not for those with a light stomach. It takes a bit to be there. And yet it's an individual. Oftentimes we forget because we see the appearance and then we're revulsed by the appearance. But if we can remember that that's a person there who is experiencing pain and suffering and had that burn, to look past the physical appearance. That's more of a spiritual aspect of beauty. It has nothing to do with the physical, and yet the physical comes through. I remember a story my mom told me when I was growing up. I had a very difficult childhood, looked very goofy, and of course kids always make fun of kids that look different, so I looked different. And she told me this story about how there was a woman, a very beautiful woman, who was preaching the gospel, and she always had crowds and crowds would come to hear her speak. And one day a jealous woman said to her, "The only reason why people are coming to you is because you're beautiful. If you weren't beautiful, nobody would have anything to do with you. They wouldn't care what you said." And so this woman took it to heart and thought, "Oh, I want people to come because of God, not because of me." And so she scratched up her face and made it look less appealing. And sure enough, people stopped coming. And I don't know, it was like a few weeks, I think it was, and she was crying and praying, and an angel appears. You know, in all the old stories, there's always the angel that comes. So the angel appears, and she says, "I don't understand. I thought the power of the God and blah, blah, blah would appeal, and I didn't know it was my beauty." And the angel said, I'm just paraphrasing here, something that you didn't realize that God gave you beauty to attract to people to hear his words. And she didn't understand that. Like the idea that it came from within in just the physical, it was just one reason to get people, but the beauty of her words is what kept people there. And I remember that for most of my life. I remember the idea, it's not so much being invested in what I look like, although it's appropriate, obviously you want to be appealing, but what you say keeps them engaged, and that's what beauty is. So hopefully I didn't ramble too long here. So instilling beauty. I would challenge you this week to see if you can instill beauty. When you see the news, don't focus on the negative. Maybe find a positive thing. or as you're scrolling through your media, your social media pages, look for beautiful things, not just comparison or judging. I would actually encourage you for this week, when you're posting a comment, make sure all of your comments have beauty in them, expressing some form of beauty instead of the rant and rage, the internet muscles. Be able to express something beautiful when you're posting your comments. And even if you don't post, if you just see on the stream, just appreciate, oh, that's a beautiful picture, or oh, that's something, that's a nice phrase, I appreciate that, or I'm going to copy that quote. So that's it for our Instilling Beauty. Again, if I had magic, I would instill beauty in all of you. But I don't. We just have the metaphor of the wand. So thank you for joining me this evening. I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you the next time on the other side of Zoom. Have a wonderful evening. Bye now.